Okay, this is Coach Blauer here on the No Fear podcast. No sponsors, no intro music. I'm not going to talk to you about my supplements and that I do every morning, or the bed I sleep on, or any of that other stuff. I got a very special guest today, a good buddy of mine, Pat McNamara. I've known Pat for decades now, right? Before 9/11.
Yeah, decades.
And dude, I'm excited to have you on this. I'm gonna have you on the regular No Fear, because this one's specifically like a pandemic talk, just what's going on.
Perfect.
And but how you doing, man?
Good. Yeah. Speaking of decades, what, 95, right? 94.
Yeah, before 9/11.
Right. Oh no, it was mid 90s.
Yeah. When at your prior location, and had a lot of fun there, and really I think we connected because you are, and clearly what you've grown your business into, aside from the shooting and the personal safety and defense and all that stuff, you've always been fascinated with human movement. You loved strength and conditioning. You loved the movement, and you just, like, you dug. I can remember coming in and seeing you analyzing half spear on the bag, and countering the punches, and just also that was a fun time, man.
Yeah, man, I devoured that stuff. It was so cool. I've always had a fascination with fight stuff, and like mental toughness, fight philosophy. And there were several guys that I brought in, but I think you returned probably, I don't know, let's say almost a dozen.
Yeah.
All right.
It was a lot, and
at least 10.
I mean, I was there on the 9/11. That was freaky.
Right.
That was freaky. Just watching. At the time, I was a Canadian citizen, so until I got politely asked to leave post, right, along with a bunch of other foreign nationals, like watching, like, you guys mobilize and get ready, and nobody had all the information yet. So that was an insane place for a guy who's this. I've been a martial artist for 50 years, but my love is training military and law enforcement, the guys who actually move towards the danger. So right. It was a weird, surreal thing to be there on that day and observe that. And also probably one of the biggest honors, and I don't think I've ever talked about this live, and I'm going to be vague just because of where we're talking about, and it's the polite thing to do, is of course all airports and flights were closed. So I was stuck in Fayetteville, and not everyone deployed, right? So people stuck around, and the biggest honor I had was, I think a day or two later, I got a call saying, "Hey, we still want to train. We want to finish this week of training with you." And then I was able to call my buddy Ron Don Vito, who had a martial arts school downtown, and he closed the school for us, and we trained there the rest of the week. It was
that was badass. So great. Yeah, we've plus we've gotten together in all this different SWAT conventions, and
right,
stayed in touch over the years. And I still use I think I told you this, but you got to see my spear presentation. I do
it's better than mine.
I do a mini block in my Sentinel class.
Sentinel course. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, guys they crap themselves. I've gotten really good at putting that chunk together in like a half an hour, half an hour spiel. It's after I talk about like my version of street fight philosophy,
right?
And about mitigation, avoidance, and zone awareness, and all this stuff. And then I teach them some really basic tools, and it's mind blowing at how many adult men have like zero fight knowledge. I mean, they may have fight like moxie,
right?
But they don't have fight experience. And I teach them some real basic tools. And then when I go into the spear thing, I introduce you, even though you're not there, and I talk about it, and then I have them do this little. I do a demo, and then I give them some time to practice it. Their mind is blown, and I talk about all the different applications. but it's typically like about 30 minutes. It's all, you know, because I don't want to fuck it up either. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I want that product to be untainted.
Right. I appreciate that, man. You've
I make sure I
always,
sell it well.
yeah. I mean, you've always honored me. I think you mentioned me once or twice in your books, and that means a lot. And I want to talk to like the listeners here. You know, most of my audience, of course, know who you are, should know who you are, but I want to talk a little bit about why these, and I didn't know we were going to talk about this stuff. So spontaneously, I want to share and then allow you to elaborate on this. Why would grown men, to quote you, crap themselves? And I hope that's a figure of speech. They're not literally shitting at the
Right.
range. And what it is when we do finger splayed and we teach muscle recruitment, we just do the simple drill of outside 90 finger splayed. There's a dopamine hit that the brain gets when you realize how fucking strong you are, when you understand the relationship between physiology, physics, biomechanics. And then when you understand simple elements of using the point of domination nomenclature from room clearing, when I understand how to dominate another person through my biomechanics, through the engineering of the human weapon system. When you remember when I first taught you finger splayed outside 90, we would always stop. It was our SOP. We would do, 1 rep with a fist, 1 rep finger splayed, 1 rep finger splayed again, then make a fist. And so you do 1 rep of each sequence, and then everyone would be like, holy shit, because there's like 100% difference in muscle recruitment and strength. And I would ask this question: how many reps did you need to do to understand the movement and feel it? And it was always 1 rep.
1.
And even with you guys who are like Olympic level athletes with what you do, right? The tier 1 operators are some of the best athletes in the world, in that arena. They would still have that same, here's some 30-year-old guy who's been in the military for 10 years. And then I'd go, what the fuck was that? And I'd always make a joke like, that's magic. And then I'd explain the physiology and kinesiology behind it. So, taking these guys who don't, because you had real fight experience, taking these guys, if I could excite you, what's happening to people who come to your Sentinel course, and then you're teaching them, look, some guy jumps you, you're going to flinch. You need to create that space. That's your workspace. Now you got to transition to your weapon or unload empty hands. But I just wanted to explain from the founder's perspective what was going on. But do you have any other observations or anything you want to add? Like, what kind of feedback do you get? Is it like you're, holy shit, what the fuck's that? I mean, I do the one demo that I got from your initial class. I took like whatever it was, 94, 95. Right.
It's where I grabbed one guy from, I talk about it first. I say, hey, anybody know Blauer? Spear, and I go over the acronym. I talk about startle flinch response, and I say, let me demo something to you. And I grab a guy who's fit, a little bigger than I am, fit guy, and I do, I do the 90 demonstration.
Right.
I say fist close, 90 degrees, and put it on my chest and resist. I'm going to try to pull you in.
Right.
And then boing, boing. I said, no, bro, resist. Boing, 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 boing. I said, all right, let's just make a slight adjustment to this. Let's go outside 90, open that palm. And I said, now resist again. And, and everybody freaks out. And I said, now, guys, we didn't go home last night and practices. I swear to God.
Right.
I mean, I could do this with any one of you. I picked a big guy because it's more
dramatic.
Yeah, it's more dramatic. But I could pick you, 135-pound girl, and yield the same result.
Right.
I swear to God, I could do this. And then I put I say, I want you to, and I'll use the same guy. And I say, I want you to listen. Tell me what you hear. And I'll put the arm against him, outside 90, open palm, and I'll just flinch. Boom. And you could hear the air leaving his lungs. And, just that demo. And then what I'll do is I'll put him in line. And I say, let's look at this from like low vis type of aspect, where you want to make sure that you know, there's people are watching, you know, there's cameras everywhere. People are watching, you know, you got to think avoidance, mitigation, you know, and try to achieve separation. But I'll use like a protection scenario, you know, walking through a crowd, how benign it is. And I'll just
Right.
barely touch
Yeah.
them. Boom, boom. And they're going, oh my God, what the
Yeah.
hell just happened? I said, yeah, you know, and we all have this natural defense mechanism. We just need to learn how to reverse it. But I think I do a pretty good job at explaining it in a short amount of time because, you know, the reception is always very well received. You know, as you know, looking through the recipient's eyes, I could tell that, you know, they are like, holy crap, I could use this tonight, bro. And
Yeah.
it's funny because not everybody, you know, it's, and you've seen this, it's like 75% get it, 25% just don't, you know what I mean? And I'm like, at least I hit 75%, you
Right.
know, where they don't understand what an outside 90 is. I said, no, and you know, and they're trying to muscle stuff, but for the most part, I do pretty good at it, and I just love it, and I love, you know, the reception that I get when I teach that mini block. It's just
I dig it, man, and you can see you can see your excitement in your face when you're telling the story. And for people who've never trained with me or one of my guys or with Pat, you need to understand we all, and I've been guilty of this, develop an unconscious bias for martial arts, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, MMA, whatever. Pat's unconscious bias is boxing. He fucking loves boxing.
Yeah, man.
And I used to do, when I first started teaching you spear, we would do stuff off of the long gun, and you'd come in and you'd go to punch the bag, and I go, dude, if you break your hand, because this was like a no shoot threat, or remember we did our no room to shoot, no time to shoot transitions, and your original muscle memory was to fire that punch because you love boxing so much. And I would say that's great, but the kinetic chain of the spear, if I'm coming here and if I'm coming off a gun, the kinetic chain of the spear or the kinetic chain of a jab are almost identical, but you're hitting with the forearm, which is like hitting somebody with like a cross check in hockey, right, versus the small metacarpals in the wrist. And it was really about risk mitigation for you at an anatomical level. And I need people to understand how like scientific this was. And then you get a smart operator like Pat and many other people went, well, yeah, I don't want to break my hand if I might also be in a gunfight a minute later. And so that was whether we're coming off gun side or support side or whatever. So super, super interesting talk. We went off on, I didn't, a fun tangent, but I want this, and we'll have you on like another longer show where we just talk about, you know, what you're doing and how life is going. But this one, I'm sharing these 30 to 45 minute talks. There are certain people online that I follow who continue to put out very positive messages.
Yeah, man.
And you're one of those guys. And I've gone like from fighters to retired mill to fitness people, because, you know, in the same way that what unites us all and makes the spear work for everybody, regardless of your background, is that it's based on physiology, physics, and psychology. Right now, we're all united too, because like it's a worldwide shutdown, shelter in place. And it's interesting to hear how people have either prepared or adapted based on their background. There's a lot to learn. So that was why I wanted to have you on the call. My first, go ahead. It looks like you want to say something.
No. Go ahead. You say your first.
Yeah. So, and so this is like 10 short questions that I don't tell anyone what they are. They're very casual, and I'm just trying to extract, like as if we were sitting in a bar talking about this. And the first question I have is, how are you doing?
I am loving this. So I've dubbed it Coronication.
Okay.
And so like you know, I travel my ass off. And I got to a point where I got worn out in 2019, and the train started up again, you know, right in 2020. And then all of a sudden, boom, this happened. you know, and I I am loving this. This is a great opportunity for self-improvement, you know, right now. And I think that we should take advantage of this time to the best of our ability. I mean, I have been so busy. I've been busier during this than my typical, you know,
Right.
between trip stays at home. I've been busier during this than when I'm working my ass off traveling. Um, and there's and there like I make a task list every night, what I want to accomplish the next morning, because a lot of us, what we need, we need purpose in life. You know, those of us who are self-governed and driven, we need purpose in life. This can be detrimental if we allow it to be, you know, let
Right.
boredom set in and the mundane and all that. So I draw up a task list every night on a little dry erase board. And you know, it gives me a reason to sleep well at night, knowing that I'm going to get up the next day and have a shit ton of stuff to do. So when I get up in the morning, you know, I'm fired up. I'm ready to attack the day. It's very pleasing to me because I need, you know, I need that purpose. I need meaning. There has to be meaning for, you know, for each day's events. I'm not somebody who's gonna, you know, binge watch several TV shows just because I can right now.
Right.
So I've been loving it. And you know, Rebecca and I, my wife and I, we're best of buddies, and I'm very fortunate in that. So, you know, we're not driving each other batshit. I told her yesterday we were each doing a different thing. I was watering the garden; she was out in front reading, and we had separation for like 45 minutes, and I had to go out and see her because I missed her.
Nice. That's cute, man.
Oh man,
Wait another 20 years. We'll see.
yeah, yeah,
No, for the most part, Jesse and I are still like that. So it's, you know, she'll go to the store and text me, "Hi, what are you doing?" And I'm like, you just went to the store. Like,
right.
you know, and so, no, that's cute. That's special. And we are lucky. I don't know that most people have relationships like that, which is
Right.
unfortunate. How's your family doing? You know, just extended and stuff. How's everybody doing?
They seem to be doing well. My parents they're getting old. They're getting up there in years, but they've been quarantining their asses off because both my parents have health issues, so they can't get sick
Right.
from this. And luckily, my sister and her boyfriend live with them, so you know, they've got that live-in aid package, man. You know, and support package, which is great because they live kind of in a duplex house, and my sister and her boyfriend occupy the other side of it. Kiddies are doing good. I mean, as best as they can.
Right.
You know, they're getting bored, but I keep telling them, you know, try to. I mean, because the weather here right now in North Carolina is so freaking nice. It would be a bummer if we had, you know, a couple weeks of real shitty weather, but it's been beautiful. So, you know, it's a great opportunity to get outdoors, stay fit or get fit, which a lot of people are doing right now. They're discovering fitness, you know, a lot of people. But yeah, everybody's doing pretty well. My wife's getting, you know, she misses work because that's her, you know, that's what drives her.
Right.
She misses work. She misses her work peeps because they're like family. You know, she works in a high-end hair salon, and so yeah, she's missing that. But yeah, overall good. How about you guys?
Well, you know, I make the joke. I wish I prepared for the pandemic before the pandemic, but and it was fun. That was one of your posts that I really liked was you know, well, like if the world just literally shut down tomorrow, you'd be okay for a while.
Yep.
You've got your shit, and that's, you know, that's one of the reasons I want to have you on the show there. But a lot of people aren't, you know, aren't going to go to that level to have those provisions, whether it's water, you know, generator, ammo, you know, maps, you know, like shit if you got to go into the woods.
Yep.
That's so. If you don't follow Pat online, you should, and go back and study some of his YouTube and Instagram videos and stuff like that. But we're as good as you can, given the circumstances. You know this, and this leads into the next question. Like 90% of my revenue source was live training, and then the high gear side of our stuff, our force on force equipment, was almost always 70-80% of that was derived from the live training, where people would do scenarios in gear and go, shit, I got to get some of this. And then the orders would come in. And so like that, like water was turned off in April, and I've had to postpone like 10 or 12 classes already. And so I had to like pivot really hard. And, I said this the other day, and I'll share it again here. I was, a friend of mine is a very, very busy psychologist now. He's also a Krav Maga instructor. He's an affiliate of ours. And he called just to check in on me. He said, how are you doing? And I said, although everything is really stressful in the world, I'm not stressed. I am like fired up. I'm creative. I'm like you, I'm working hard. It's interesting that you said you make a task list at night, because I wrote in my newsletter yesterday, people ask me, how am I sustaining the energy level? Because I used to struggle to put out a newsletter like once every month, 6 weeks. I've written something every day for people, tips and things and ideas and videos and stuff. And yesterday I said, my world is now just 2 days long. There's no weeks, there's no months. It's today and tomorrow. And today is based on what I wrote to do last night. And then tonight I'm going to go, I got to get this done tomorrow. And those are the 2 days, because information can change so rapidly. You could wake up in the morning and go, okay, get in the truck, or you can go, oh, look, we can go to the bar and have a drink with our friends. Like the world just changed on and off. So my next question to you is, how has this affected your business specifically? What have you done to adapt? And I know your Corona vacation is that, and we had talked, and I'll put a shameless plug in for a yet to be discussed date. Pat and I have been talking for a couple of years now on doing something together, a course together. And then this hit like right when we were just started talking about when, but I know that a lot of your stuff, when we were talking, you were like so busy. You said, I'm limiting the size of the class. I'm limiting how many I do. I'm like, you used the word, I like how you use the word worn out instead of burned out. I'm worn out from that, but you have enough self-awareness to go, I got to take care of myself. Right. Mm-hmm. And those who don't know Pat, he's a very talented artist. He's a musician. He draws crazy stuff. So you're like a literally like a Renaissance man born in the wrong time, right? Like, yeah. Like you and I'm not at your level, but I used to draw and I play guitar. But I think you and I probably should have been born, when Musashi was around and we could walk around, drink sake, get into duels with katanas, and then write poetry and paint. So I don't know, but anyways, all of that. So how's this affected your business, and what have you done to adapt?
Well, so, of course it's had an adverse effect on business, because I'm looking up at my calendar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 courses have been canceled. And I've had to push those later in the year, which is when I wanted to take a break. So the later in the year break time is becoming super saturated. And then what I've been doing is giving people the option, I can either push your deposit or I could send you a freaking refund.
Right.
And a lot of them are asking for refunds. And, I've taken all these losses. But I have to realize that there are people hurting more than I am. So right. I need to make sure that I get these refunds out to people. But I've adjusted on a couple different fronts. I'm building with my podcast co-host, CJ, we're building a coaching group, online coaching group. That's one. I've been selling my my resistance bands. I just put in another order for those. I'm hoping to have them by the end of the month. And I've been putting out a lot of information on improvised low tech workouts, you know, driveway type of workouts,
Right.
you know, what you can do with what you have. And that's keeping me busy, but because it's keeping people interested, you know, and if I'm motivating them, I am getting motivated to do it. So
Right.
I've been putting out more and more and more of that stuff. So it has a, you know, negatively affected business, but I know that I will make it up later in the year. Just that I don't want to work my ass off later in the year
Right.
either. But it looks like I'm going to have to do that. But you know, it is what it is, and I want to make sure that I do people right. But like I said earlier, this is a great time for self improvement. So I'm figuring out a lot of different ways to kind of equal out the you know, the revenue income. And it's been interesting, you know, and there's work out there, and you don't have to be a crook about it.
Right.
Because people will take advantage of, you know, there will be scumbags who take advantage of this and take advantage of people. And man, I cannot be one of those freaking douchebags.
Right.
So I'm trying to do what's right and trying to give people a good product, and I'm listening to them. A lot of the work I'm doing right now is totally gratis, but it's a good time for that. It's a good time to be charitable, you know.
Yeah.
And in times like this, bring out the best in us. Well, either bring out the worst in the people
Right.
or the best in people.
Good point.
And I think, in my opinion, we are going to come, the country, maybe even the world, are going to come out of this better people, you know, as any setback does, you know, when we're in times of turmoil and stuff like that, it brings out the best in us, you know. It brings out like the primitive side, the tribe side, and us, and we human beings. And yeah, I'm very optimistic at what this will bring for us. The other thing I think it'll bring is, you know, nowadays people are so connected that they're disconnected. You know, they're fat, dumb, lazy, flaccid button pushers stuck in 45-degree syndrome, you know, looking at their phones all the time. And there's a lack of creativity and imagination. I think people are going to be forced to be creative and use their imagination. And I just think that a lot of good is going to come from this.
I agree, man. And you're 100% right. I mean, it's, you know, it's that pressure, you know, as the metaphor goes, you know, the pressure, you know, produces the diamond. And, you know, some people are going to get crushed and some people are going to blossom. And something I said on a business call that I did a couple of days ago, you know, I said, to solve problems, you can't become the problem. You're
Right.
not, you know, and so whatever situation anybody listening to this has, you decide it's dire and you focus on the negative. And now you're becoming the problem that can never solve the problem. You got to go, wow, you know, I need food, or I need revenue, or I need to get out of the house, or I need to do something. It's very easy to just sit in, you know, what we call the fear loop inside the cycle of behavior, and just, you know, be like, you know, Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber in the bathroom scene, you know, your thumb in your mouth. And you've got to, like Pat said there, you got to like develop that self-awareness and go, okay, what do I need to do? But you can't solve problems if you become a problem.
Right. Yeah, man. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And too many people are still part of the problem. You know, I got on, I hate it, but I'm part of social media. You know, I've built an empire, so I have to get on it every day. Facebook for me is the worst one because people are still airing grievances and they're political pundits. So I decided just to permanently block all those people who are still sending out negative messages. You know, in the past, I need to see what kind of poison I needed to see it, you know, what kind of poison they were spouting. But now I just went ahead and just permanently blocked all those people, because, and that's an indicator. If you are on the interwebs, you know, preaching negativity, it's because you are miserable and you want others to wallow in your misery.
Right. 100%. I agree, and it took me a while to learn that too. As an instinctive, intuitive coach, my whole life, I had the arrogant idea that I could flip people, that I had the bandwidth to, no, you don't understand, like do this and think that. And I remember one story, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I'll share it really quick. I was giving an example in one of our seminars of how fast you can train the brain to think strategically when you run a certain formula on, okay, what are my options, what I could do, how do I prioritize these options. I gave this example of your brakes going out on you on a switchback down a steep mountain. And this actually had happened to my dad when I was like 12 years old, and we were in the car. We'd gone up to see the Haleakala crater I think it's on the Big Island in Hawaii. And, on the way down, the brakes in the rental car went out. My dad happened to be a rescue diver for the, yeah. And so this is switchback stuff where if you go over the side, like the rescue crews will stand there like for a day going, how do we get this guy in this family? Right. I mean, some of the drop-offs were just insane. And, so cars would go super, super slow and move. Well, I get to the bottom. When you go to for those of you who've never been there, the time to go is like sunrise. And there's this one, like they say you could fit Manhattan inside of this crater. It's insanely beautiful. But like when you're 12 years old and your sister's 9 and your other sister's 7, you don't really give a shit about craters. You're like, you don't want to get up at 3 a.m. and drive. Right. But my dad thought it would be cool. We did that. And we hated the whole thing. It was cool. Just as kids going, oh, Dad, really? And, but the point being here is we fell asleep because like we left there at 7 a.m. We were already there, saw the sunrise, took the mandatory pictures. We get back and I wake up, I had fallen asleep and I wake up and the car smells like it's on fire and been torched like metal. I look over at my dad. He's as white as my t-shirt and completely soaking wet. And I'm like, Dad, what's that smell? What's that doing? And he said, oh, we had a little mishap. The brakes went out on the car but he managed to using the handbrake.
Right.
Car, but he kept his wits together. And everyone listened to the story. It's kind of deep and interesting. He could have panicked and we all could have died or had a serious injury. Mm-hmm. But part of the fact that he was part of the National Ski Patrol, he was into, first aid. He probably wanted to be a cop, but he was a rescue diver for the police. So he had this scenario-based training already about how do I handle myself in a crisis and how do I stay calm. And, and so that's just a shout out to like when I'm teaching our Essentials of Personal Defense or Beer and Bodyguard course or Pat doing Sentinel and stuff like that. Yeah, he's teaching firearm handling, but he's teaching people how to think under pressure. It's not like just the gun. If you just want the gun, you go to the flat range and you plink, you go to a competition. When I'm teaching people, to weaponize the startle flinch, I'm teaching them how to think in a crisis. I'm thinking about situational awareness, but that's separate. So here we are, Haleakala. I go, Dad, what's that smell? He goes, brakes went out. I didn't think about this because I was like literally 12 or 13 till decades later. I built it into a seminar in the 80s. And what I had the class do, I described the scenario and I had them have their eyes closed, Pat. I said, you got your family in the car, the brakes go out, you're on a switchback. What are the things you can do? You have 1 minute, write them down, go, and everyone had a little index card and people would write down things like honk, put the car in brake, jump out of the car, handbrake, like all like the 4 or 5 different things that you could do panicking. And I would stop and I go, okay, that was good. Let's look at these. Okay, turning the car off, that's not going to do it. Okay, putting the car in brake, that's not going to do it. One person says, eject yourself from the car. Okay, yeah, you can jump out of the car. Great. So we put that down. Someone said, can you drive into something so you don't go over the cliff? I go, yeah. Would you drive into a rock or a tree or bushes? Like, can you select what you're going to do? You're going to go, shit, this is going to suck, but you deliberately, right? So we wrote that down. And then, someone said, what about the handbrake? What about the emergency brake? Yes, you can use that, but only if you know how to use it and think to go there. So I said, okay, really, there are 3 things you could do. And everyone listening to this, you can visualize this. I go, now let's go in order of priority. You're coming down the switchback and your brakes go out on you and you go, fuck, there's a momentary fear spike. The car starts to accelerate. You immediately go, oh shit, you see what's happening. Imagine if, like the Terminator, the original Terminator, the screen pops down in front of your mind and you go, and there's the three options. Mm-hmm. So I said to the group, what is the first thing that you should immediately go to? And it was clear, handbrake. If the handbrake starts to fuck up, then the next thing would be, I said, what's the next safest thing to do? Well, while you're protected by a vehicle, it would be to drive into something. The most dangerous thing to you potentially is to throw yourself out of the car. And now what if you have kids in the car like my dad, right?
Right.
So now people are like fucked up. I said, okay, good. You did a good job. We got these three. I said, let me give you another scenario. And I said, close your eyes, get ready to write. And I described the exact same scenario. Now, the other questions, the other answers, when they did the first exercise, took up the full minute, and some of them were all over the place. So I said, okay, let me give you another scenario. Close your eyes, get ready. I go, you're coming down the switchback trail from Haleakala, your brakes go out on you. What do you do? And everyone wrote down, right? Handbrake, drive into something, eject. And they were done in 10 seconds. I go, that's how fast you can program stuff. Mm-hmm. And I said, of course, if you don't know how to use your handbrake, go out in the parking lot on a Sunday and figure out how to use that and blah, 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 blah. And I go, anyone have any questions? And I said, this is just an exercise where you can look at a scenario that you hadn't even thought of yet. Something happened in the news. And instead of going, wow, too bad for that person, you go, how would I respond to a similar crisis, catastrophe, whatever, right? Like the joke I made, I wish I'd prepared for the pandemic before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So this, I go, any questions? And this guy puts up his hand. This is so classic. This guy puts up his hand and he said, that was a really interesting exercise. And I get what you're trying to do, but I'm actually thinking that if that happened to me, my kids are in the car, the brakes go out, even though I know this, I'm thinking that I would still freak out. I would panic and I would end up going over the cliff. And I looked at him and I said to the guy, I said, sir, do you realize that you're arguing to be right about failure? You are arguing to be right. And that's that. You can't solve problems if you become the problem. I don't know why I went off on that tangent, what we were talking about. But folks, if you're listening to this, you were talking about like the naysayers, the negative mindsets, and the people that are miserable. Like that guy is the guy that no matter what good idea you present, he could go to the doctor, he's overweight. The guy says, look, man, you just got to change this and do that. And he's the guy that'll go, but that's so hard to do.
Yeah, right.
So anyways, hijack the call.
Yeah, man. Sorry.
I think you already answered this, but what in one or two thoughts, what's the best thing about the lockdown? You already said, like, you're busier than ever. You're doing, you're doing stuff. You got to take a break. But is there another, like, this best thing?
Well, I think this will test, people's relationships with their families. It's a good test. And it's in my opinion that people are figuring it out. The first week may have sucked, right, or first week and a half, but now they're figuring it out. They're going, I've got this, and I'm in lockdown for however much longer, so I need to keep figuring this shit out. Another one is for me, I'm rekindling hobbies that I usually don't get to. I'm hobby heavy.
Right.
So I'm almost finished with my second pointillism drawing. And Rebecca and I have been doing small, projects together, like hobby projects.
Right.
But just like you said, I wish I were prepared for the pandemic prior to the pandemic. I'm hoping that people get that now, because I've been putting out PSAs for years about being prepared for this kind of thing and what you should have on hand. I'm hoping that people don't get caught with their pants down again, but I think that they still will. It's like trying to change, to your example of trying to change people's minds, and you have this magical power. I can't either. I'm not, and it's not for lack of trying, and I'm still going to try, but I get it. I'm not going to change people's minds, and I'm not going to make them preppers, and I'm not going to get them fit. There's certain people that I'm not going to be able, my message will not resonate with them, but sure, I'm still going to try.
No, I dig it. That's what you got to do. Worst thing about the lockdown. What's the worst thing?
The worst thing. See, for me, I've been having so much fun. I think
I
the
know.
worst thing is
So
watch.
it's
Well,
I was going to say, it's interesting asking guys like you who solve problems, right?
right.
So, you're the type of guy where something shit happens, you're like in a bad mood for like a second, and then you're strategizing. So now you're in a
Yep.
good mood because you're solving. But
Worst thing for me is knowing that my wife misses her job. So, uh, I feel for her, so that's probably the worst thing. And then also, and this sounds corny, but I know that there's people out there who are normally live from paycheck to paycheck.
right,
A hard thing to do is to find out who those people are. People, because I know those people, I just don't know who they are. But I'm sure that I know people like that. So for me, I'm still struggling with how to help them. Is it donate to the food bank? Is it buy gift certificates from restaurants? But so I struggle with that one, but I'm still figuring it out. On like social media, pinging people who
right.
know people, because I know a million people on social media. I just don't know anybody. I don't hang out with anybody here. So I'm trying to figure that one out too, because that's a little bit of a struggle, and it's a conundrum for me, is how I can best help people out who are in need, because I know it. I know there's people suffering, and I'm sure I know them,
Right.
and I don't know how to help them.
Interesting.
Figuring it out.
Yeah. Interesting. So much disinformation, misinformation, manipulation out there as far as, news and all of that. Where are you getting your info, and how are you verifying it?
I'm real careful with the news right now, just because I don't like the negative crap. So I'm kind of sticking to my routine. I watch a little bit of headline news in the morning, just to get some headlines. I watch a talk show in the afternoon that's got both like liberal and conservative pundits on it, and they both give each side of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that kind of back and forth banter.
What show
And then what's that?
Is it a specific show you watch?
Yeah, the Five on Fox, the
Okay.
Five.
Okay.
But I like that one because there's a couple of ideologues on both sides, and there's a couple of middle ground people too. So I get a really good picture of the big picture, and if you could siphon out the bullshit and look and read the news through a filter, you can pretty much understand what's going on. A lot of people are stuck, in a world where all they're hearing is poison, and that's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
So but I'm pretty careful not to watch a lot of news right now, because I know what's going on.
Right.
I know what's going on. And then with that Five show in the evening, I get to hear the extreme left point of view on how the president is screwing everything up, and the extreme right point of view on how he's doing everything right. And then, I get to hear the middle ground too of what's really happening. So I enjoy that show. I like the people on it. And I like hearing both sides of the debate. I almost said argument, but of the debate. And then I get a little bit through through social media, and then I get some of my information through memes. I like the funny ones. I hate visceral. I hate shrill. I
Right.
hate finger pointing. I like the funny stuff. It's good, and I'm pretty. And I have been watching the task force at night. The COVID-19 task force briefings from the White House. They're at like 5:45 or something like that. It's between 5:30 and 6 Eastern time. I watch some of that just to see what's going on, but not a lot of it. I watch like the first 10 minutes of it, and then boring, turn it off, get back to staying busy.
Good. I dig it. Good answer, man. What bothers you the most about what's going on?
Same thing. is the finger pointing, and the blame, in the politics involved. It's like, are you fucking crazy, man?
Right.
And it's mostly just blowhards, getting information from vile sources, and and they're transmitting this message of hate and disgust, through their whatever broadband they have. Yeah, I really freaking hate that. So that's why I've minimized my intake on that and deleted a bunch of like accounts that I followed on Facebook and IG and stuff like that. Just deleted them because I'm not an idiot. I know that this stuff is not true, but the hard part is I know that they know that it's true. In their mind, they know it's true.
Right.
I mean, I get it, because I had, growing up, my parents were ideologues, extreme right. And I would have to tell them, not even growing up, just let's say like last administration, they would say stuff and I would go, no, that's not true. It's not true. Yeah. So that's what bothers me the most about this.
Dig it. Okay. Without making this political, if I put you in charge of the world, I go, hey, Pat, President Trump just called. He wants you in charge. Like, what would you change? What would you do? What would be your strategy right out of the gate?
I'm not sure, that only because I haven't really talked to, I would need counsel from the experts, from the medical community and stuff like that. And, try to disclose or discover how much stuff and where it is being made, the generators and the respirators and the masks and all that stuff. And really get a handle on distribution, because I think that is broken a little bit. It's not so much production, but it's the logistics behind it.
Right.
And I would be different as far as the politics go.
Right.
I would really be heavy-handed with telling people, hey, shut up with the politics. Just knock it off. If you have a solution, tell me the solution. Otherwise, once again, you're just part of the freaking problem. So just shut up. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And I would also make myself available. Hey, I am open ears. This is open forum. None of us are smarter than any of us. Give me your best freaking answer. Because I think things are going, me personally, I think how it's being handled is pretty good, besides for all the, the bickering. You shoulda. Well, yeah, motherfucker, I know I should have, but you didn't forecast this shit either. So once again, shut up.
Right. I love it. Okay. You've kind of covered this, but and you're a very positive person, and you're busy, and you're emotionally connected to other people's strife. And I mean, you're an artist. So this is like the, second to last question is like, now you and I are sitting in a bar, and it's really just you and I, because even though I said that in the beginning, hey, we're talking in a bar, you're still you on a podcast, and you're talking to, my audience is a lot bigger than Joe Rogan. So,
right on.
But, and Jocko's together, but the, right. No, but I mean, maybe, one person listens to this, or 100,000 people or whatever. Honestly, what is the most challenging thing for you going through this? Because there's a part, like, I need to have a certain posture and energy for my wife, for my kids. I've got almost 200 affiliates around the world. We get on calls. A lot of them had gyms. My business is closed. Like, and so I'm in there going, you need to do this. Everybody get a free Zoom account. You got to be doing live stuff like this. And I'm trying to make my strategy infectious, so that they get contaminated, not with the virus, but with these ideas. and they go out there, and a lot of them are like producing amazing stuff. In fact, you know, some of the stuff that we're doing online now was born out of that type of uh, 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 combustive energy, where someone on my team says, hey boss, can we do something like this? And I'm like, that's a fucking great idea, let's do that. Right. But then there are times I go for a walk every day by myself. I got trails near me, and although this is stressful, I'm not stressed. There are times where I go in the roller coaster in the mind going, you know, how long can we sustain this? You know, like what's going to happen to the economy? I hope my mom doesn't get, you know, you get the negative thoughts. So for you, because you've really emoted and shared a lot of what bothers you already. But if you were just like alone walking in the woods, what's the most challenging thing that, you know, this?
Well, one is, so my kiddies don't live with me. They're still pretty young. They're 16 and 18. They live close. They live in the same town, but I'm, you know, I can't see them. You know, their mom has them in lockdown, and even though we've been in lockdown too, I can't see them.
Right.
So that sucks. I'm trying to change the rules a little bit because Rebecca and I have been really good about the lockdown thing. You know,
right.
I mean, you know, we have taken very, you know, serious precautions. We go out and get stuff, but
Right.
we wipe down prior, we wipe down afterwards. We don't touch anything, and you know, we've been serious about it. You know, so I can't see them. You know, my kiddies. That sucks, and and I think it sucks for them more than it sucks for me because they're bored out of their freaking minds.
Right.
I can see it, you know, on their social media feeds. They are bored like freaking crazy, and you know, it bothers me seeing them bored. And you know, so I keep trying to text them and write them and tell them, hey, try this or do this, or yeah, do some more of that artwork because my daughter's doing artwork. You know, explore different things, and please,
Right.
please get outside because it's so freaking nice out. You know, it's so nice outside here right now. It's a great, because like I said, this could really suck, you know, if the weather were horrible, you know, because, you know, all those endorphins. So that one bothers me. Like I said, is not knowing, and I'll figure it out here in the next couple of days, not knowing the best way to support my community, you know, because not only have I planned for this, like with stuff, right, with stockpiles of stuff and gas and water and food and hygiene and all of the things, but I've also planned on, all right, and I had no idea pandemic. I was thinking natural disaster or something, whatever. I was thinking, let me make sure that I can pay my bills for an extended period of time in the event that I'm not getting paid.
Right.
So that just happened. I'm not
Right.
getting paid, but I could pay my bills for an extended period of time. But why shouldn't I help out somebody else too? You know, because there are people that I know who live from paycheck to paycheck. I just don't know who they are. But I'm going to figure that out. And if I can help one family, then bro, I'm going to be happy as shit. But I'm hoping I can help out more than that. Even if it's just buying meals, you know, whatever it is,
Sure.
you know.
Sure. No, that's great.
So it's been a conundrum, you know, because I've had several conundrums during this, and like people have been asking me to make a Spotify playlist for years. Can you make a Spotify playlist? And now I had time. So and what's that doing? That's helping people. And it cost me like 4, maybe 5 hours because I'm trying to figure it out. And I've made a 16-hour Spotify playlist. But I got the time now. So it's very fulfilling to me if I can help somebody out doing the most menial shit, you know? But it's very fulfilling. So, but I need that, you know, I want to make sure, I don't know. Anyway, that's what sucks the most. That's the hardest thing.
No, it's cool, man. It's cool. Okay. Final message for people listening. And this is like that moment, I guess, you know, the mission behind your your next project coaching with CJ is
Mhm.
what's your parting thought to anybody listening to
I'm
Pat?
going to take a couple mantras that, sports psychology mantras. One is, it's corny, but it's cool. Like I said, this is a great opportunity for self-improvement. Today is the first day of your rest of your life. We've heard that thing, but why not? And then remember, think of his name here. 90s Hall of Famer football player was Jerry Rice.
Okay.
So Jerry Rice is very self-driven, and he did that. He did that. Granted, he had the best coaches and everything else, but he made himself who he was. And his mantra was, "I will do today what others won't, so I could do tomorrow what others can't." And I love that one, man. I mean, I use a lot of your isms in all my classrooms because you're the ism master. But those are a couple. That Jerry Rice one, man. I mean, I think that's something that should be, written on a chalkboard and, and something you could see every day. So you could wake up in the morning and see that, I will do today what others won't, so I could do tomorrow what others can't. And the last thing is, don't get bit in the ass again if something like this happens. Have some kind of preparations, especially if you're a family guy. Let's say you have little kiddies, like dependents, little kiddies. You should have stuff at home, toiletries, hygiene, Lysol wipes, water, food. You should have those things. And it doesn't have to be, a stockpile like I have. It could be in a tough box, somewhere in a closet, or if you have a garage or something like that, stuff that fills up a corner that you don't touch, and every once in a while you replenish it, because even stuff that's sealed has a shelf life, over time, so you have to, replenish that stuff, and just don't get bit in the ass again. It's we don't plan to fail, but we fail to plan. And it's better to have and not need than to need and not have. It's just it's peace of mind, to have that stuff, to have stuff with you. But use this time and make something with your hands, make something with your mind. Read that book that you haven't read, write a freaking letter, to somebody. I mean, it's an art that's it's become like an anachronism, the ability to write, or better yet, teach your freaking kids to write, because kids can't write anymore, man. They can't write.
Right.
And they damn sure can't write cursive. I mean, why not? Have your kids learn cursive, which will give you something to do because you're teaching them, because you forgot how to do it because you haven't done it since the 8th grade or whatever it is. I'm just spitballing.
No, it's good. It's good. And it's, you don't know what idea is going to inspire somebody to do
Right.
something, so you throw it out there, and it's like, you could think, well, Spotify list, how's that going to help people?
Right.
Well, if you do that and someone starts listening to the tracks and they know that the way the brain links up a symbol, it's like, hey, the first time I heard this song, Pat was doing, box jumps into the back of his pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go work out. And that's how the brain, Muhammad Ali used to hate running. So he would put his running shoes on top of his alarm clock. So when the alarm went off at 4 or 5 in the morning, you remember him describing this in his autobiography, that, in his grogginess, he'd reach over there, and to shut the alarm, he had to touch his running shoes, and it reminded him, you need to get out and do your road work. And it was that intuitive psychological trigger. So all these ideas, cliche maxims are maxims and cliche because they stood the test of time. Right. So they're there for a reason. Dude, this was great. I know it's going to fire some people up. I want to thank you so much. I can't wait to, when this settles down, we'll get back online and figure out when we're going to do, because I'm sure your availability and dates change as I'm in a little bit different boat, because I've got, about 12 people on my mobile training team. So when we push courses to the right, if I want to teach, I go teach. If I don't, but you're the guy. So when people come train with you, they want to be with you. So we'll revisit that. Hopefully this will be over soon. I'm glad you guys are safe. It was great to connect and see you again. And just stay safe out there.
Yeah, bro. And hey, look forward to I look forward to getting you on my podcast.
Yeah, please.
Down the road, University of Badassery. We'll make it happen.
I dig it. So so I almost forgot about that. What is the best places for people to check you out?
Well, I am T-Max Inc. on almost every platform. TMACSINC on Instagram, Facebook. That's the best way. And then my podcast with CJ is pretty cool. It's good and upbeat. It's got a different vibe to it, which is really neat. We've got a pretty cool dynamic. But bro, you would be an awesome guest on that, man. I know
Please.
CJ would dig it. He would dig it.
Let me check my calendar. Oh, hold on, I'm quarantined.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay, man. Be safe. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, Rebecca.
All right, you know it.